All right, guys, this is going to be my 40-hour review on my 2024 TE 300 Pro. And I'll just start off by saying this is hands down the best dirt bike I've ever owned. I'm in love with this thing. I like this thing more and more each time I ride it. And just for reference, my previous 3 bikes were all Yamahas and they were all 4-strokes, and like them too, but this is definitely a step above the rest. So I went with the TE because I wanted the headlight and tail light. I do a lot of trail riding. I also use this as a hare scramble bike. And actually this Sunday I'm going to do an enduro. But yeah, I'll give you some of my thoughts and kind of go over the bike a little bit. So I bought this bike back in February. And, you know, I live in Michigan, so in February we still got snow, the ground's frozen, yada, yada, yada. So me and some buddies went down south. We always go to Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. And that's where I broke this bike in. And I know these 24s come with the spring forks, and I was really impressed with the suspension. So what this bike, obviously you guys know what this bike is designed for, which is, you know, hard enduro or the slower technical single track. And that's what we were riding when we went down south. And straight out of the box, if you're doing like hard enduro or, you know, some really slow technical trail riding, I don't even think you have to adjust a clicker on this bike. It's like the suspension was amazing. However, once spring broke and, you know, I started riding it here in Michigan, our trails are a lot of faster flow, really whooped out. I found real quick the suspension was way too soft, and I already know, like, you know, I was too heavy for the springs. So what did I do right away after the first 10 hours on this bike? I took it to Enduro Engineering. I had them spring it for my weight, and I had them valve it for a B-class hare scramble setup. So far, I'm absolutely in love with it. And it just so happened that when I was at Enduro Engineering, the guy at the counter said he just picked up the same bike, asked me what I thought of it, and he asked me, have I ever thought about getting it remapped? And I was like, you know, it's funny that you say that, because, you know, I'm new to 2-strokes, but when the first few hours on this bike, I was like, man, this thing kind of feels a little fat on the bottom, just like it had just a little bit of a burble, but I mean, still a phenomenal bike. But he said, yeah, well, just so happens we do tuning now. And I said, you do? And he said, yeah, if you want to get your ECU tuned, we actually send it out, and I forgot the name of the guy, but they send it out of state to, it's a place called TPI Tuning, forgot what state. I know the guy is really well known, but obviously he does TPI and TBI, which this is a TBI. And yeah, he said, that's a really quick turnaround. We'll have the ECU back before we even have your suspension done. So I said, well, shit, take my money. And it ended up only costing like $250 to have it remapped. So I got it back, and I was just absolutely blown away by the difference. So I have a friend that's been a long time 300 rider. He rode this bike when I first got it, and, you know, liked it, thought it was great. But then he rode it after I got it back from being tuned, and he was like, holy cow, I cannot believe what a difference that made. And I said, yep, I couldn't agree more. And I know they're fuel injected. Like, was this bike good enough out of the box? Yes, it was. But I kind of feel like, you know, they're just like the older carbureted bikes. You know, some of them come jetted pretty decent, but you know, you can always squeeze that extra little bit of power or performance out of it that you want. And that's exactly what the tuning does. You know, good enough out of the box, but you can definitely make them better. And this thing absolutely rips now. Well, I mean, it did before, but it pulls a lot stronger now. And what they do is, they were telling me, you know, it was a little fat on the bottom, so they kind of lean it out on the bottom, and then they actually add fuel into some of the lean spots, like in the mid and the top, and it's just a night and day difference. So to anybody that has these new TBIs, do you need to remap them? No, but I'm telling you, if you have the extra 250 bucks, it's worth every dime. It's like a new bike. So anyways, there's that. And one of the reasons why I bought the Pro was, I guess I should say the main reason I bought the Pro was for the Brembo clutch and the Brembo brakes. Now what I'm seeing online is the 25s, just the standard version, comes with Brembo. So I don't know, I could have waited, I guess, a year and saved myself a little bit of money, but this one did come outfitted pretty good. And so the Pro, besides having the Brembo clutch and the Brembo brakes, it comes with the front disc guard, and then the rear disc guard, which I don't know if the sun's so bright, I don't know if you can see it, but, and so far so good. It's held up great. You know, we don't have a lot of rock here in Michigan, so. And then it comes with a full coverage skid plate with a linkage guard. And at first I was kind of thinking, I looked at that skid plate and I was like, man, it just didn't look beefy enough. But people were telling me, just run it. It's actually a pretty good skid plate. And I'm glad I listened, because I saved myself a bunch of money, and that thing is held up great. Slides right over rock, right over logs. Really happy with it. And then stuff that I added, obviously I added the plastics, the graphics. I added the 2.1 right off the rip, you know, because when I'm not doing hair scrambles, I'm trail riding, and you got to be spark arrested everywhere here in Michigan, like probably pretty much any other state. So it's a must, because I didn't want to buy the end caps. I know it's not a big deal, but I just didn't want to have to take the end cap off, like keep my eye on it, and you know, make sure the screen don't get plugged up, and just one less thing I had to worry about. So I went and just got the 2.1. What else did I get? I got the, let's see, I don't know if you can see in here, the Enduro Engineering radiator guards. Super happy with those. Those are really strong. And one thing I've noticed with these, well, actually with this Husky over, like, say my Yamaha, is it takes way less damage to the radiator. And the more I think about it, it's because, I think it's because the radiators sit up higher on these bikes, whereas the Yamaha, they have the air filter, the air intake on top, so the radiator sits down a lot lower, and it's just a lot more susceptible to, you know, branches and, you know, just hitting stuff. It's just a lot more susceptible to damage. And what else? Now I got the Enduro Engineering handguards, full wraps. I cut the bars down a 1/2 inch on each side, which is pretty much standard. One more thing is the Pro comes with the factory fan. So, and even though 2-strokes, they say run cooler, a fan is a must, because that thing runs quite a bit in my races, you know, like later in the race when I'm tired and I'm, you know, riding like a squid nice and slow, and yeah, you can hear that thing come on quite a bit, so that's a must have. I added the throttle body guard on there. I do have the slave cylinder guard, and I just keep forgetting to put it on. That's actually in the garage. I just threw it in a box, and it is what it is. I just kind of forgot about it. But yeah, anyways, guys, if you're in the market for one of these 2024s, do not be afraid to pull the trigger. This is the best bike I've ever had, and I'm a big fan of it. So big fan of Husky too. So I've always wanted a Husky, and the reason why I went with the Husky instead of the KTM XCW is because I wanted the linkage. You know, the Huskies come with the linkage, the XCWs comes with a PDS, and I've heard the PDS is really good, but I just wanted the linkage because I wanted it. So anyways, guys, that's it. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, and follow my journey as a new 300 2-stroke rider. So far so good. Love this bike, and I'm looking to many more adventures on it. All right, guys, thanks for watching.